Welcome to the Winners and Losers Show. Hello, everybody. My name is Hank Thompson. I'm the host of the show. I'm going to be the host of the show until all the dog eyes are looked into. I like looking at dogs. I'm going to say that right now. I'm a big dog looker at her. I mean, dogs I don't know. I only glance, but if I know them, a couple glances, maybe even a slight stare, but a friendly stare. You know, dogs are a little sensitive. They tend to freak out if you really eye them down. Eye them down. Is that a phrase? Anybody? Okay. Welcome to the show, guys. Like and subscribe. Click on the shit. Reviews on iTunes. Oh yeah, reviews on iTunes. I forgot about that. Helps us reach a bigger audience. So all I need is everybody to go make several million fake accounts and write several million glowing reviews on iTunes, and then we will defeat Adam Carolla on the charts. I don't know who's on the charts. Is Mark Maron still doing a show? Just kidding. I know he is. I saw it on Twitter earlier today. I just haven't listened to it forever. Boy, it was a real big deal when it came out, huh? How's everybody? How you done with your turkey farts? All the turkey? Are you having cranberry turkey farts? Are you tired of talking about? I just had work on Monday. Today's Monday night, and went back to work after Thanksgiving, which is something I've only done in my life like two times, maybe three. I don't remember, but because I've never had real jobs before. I worked by myself before I moved to L.A., and then for a little while in L.A. I had a real job, and then I didn't for a long time, and now I do. So for me, I'm experiencing all this workplace culture stuff that is kind of interesting. I know they made a whole show about it in England called The Office, and then they made another one in America called The Office, and they were popular, and people like to stare at the camera and fall in love with the secretary lady. Oh, am I supposed? I don't think my receptionist. Oh shit! Oh fuck! No, but they fall in love. It's cute and sweet, and there's guys in the warehouse and stuff, and then they're always having zany hijinks. We don't have a warehouse, but I do enjoy office things. I mean, not really. I can see why people go insane. I get it. We're not supposed to be inside, basically. I mean, I'd rather be inside than anything else. But human beings are sort of, I know I get into this a lot, but we're supposed to be like running around and getting sunburned and doing things and not. Also, we're pretty good at napping and stuff. But I see why offices are unhealthy for people, and I'm not saying I even work in a bad. I feel like I have some pretty good perks. We worked on a puzzle. That was a lot of fun. You got to be done with your shit, and then you can stand and do it. But yeah, there's a water and a coffee thing. But I don't know. It's interesting. I'm noticing one of the things that I recall from my first round at the Young Turks where I work. I developed, and this just became a bit, and I'm about to do part of my. I don't know, but I always fall into my. It's easy to fall into your old bits, but I did do this for real. And I'm starting to do it again because it's entertaining, and I'm dying inside. I mean, that process started a long time ago. It's not, but I enjoyed blessing things that aren't sneezes. Just bless stuff. Just start with coughs. It's always easy. You'll hear a cough. You just go, bless you. And then people will look at you like you're insane because it's totally sane to bless a sneeze. Nothing weird about that, but you bless a cough and you look like a fucking maniac. So do it. It's fun. Do it. Or obviously, it's not like you're just strangers, so they'll be like, "Oh no, that was a cough. Save it for when it really matters, for when it's a sneeze." But it is fun to bless. I do notice the whole blessing culture is it's nice. I could be cynical because it's about blessings. Not that blessings deserve cynicism, but sometimes there's that anti-religious sort of instinct. But that I don't have that. That's more of like a early phase of my atheism, or one's atheism, which for me kicked in my teens, early teens. But all right, yeah, and really what it is basically saying, I heard that. Happens to me too. Yep. Every once in a while, I expel fluid and saliva, which is fluid, and spittle, which is also saliva, which is fluid, straight out of my face in a horrible scream that only lasts okay, I had a bit about, that's right. Fuck. Sorry. See, this is called a aging old comedian relives the part of where he did it, and yet it's not like I was. But the bit was more about how where lucky sneezes are very brief, because if sneezes lasted longer than a second, they would be the worst disease you could possibly get. If you had a sneeze that lasted 5 days, and then I do this long act out about like where you do that for a day, where you're just sucking, and then I go on and I start, and it just turns into 3 days of screaming of with your face completely. Okay, so you get the idea. I actually remember once I did that bit, and another comedian came up to me, a guy who didn't suck at comedy, and he goes, "Oh, that's a great bit." He was like all worked up about it, and I was like, "Fuck yeah, yeah!" Because the two most important groups when you're in stand-up are the audience, of course, because we love them, and then older comedians whose approval you're desperate for. Although maybe if you weren't so desperate, you wouldn't be fucking quitting at open mics like I did 2 or 3 or 4 years ago, or whenever the fuck I quit. I've been quitting comedy longer than I am at it. I just realized early next year, I'll be at this fucking thing for 10 years. 10 years! And look what I got the show for it. The podcast I started 9 years ago. So it's coming. We're getting it done. No, it's been a real wild time. Maybe I'll talk about that next year, whatever. Oh shit! I can hear my roommate. Suddenly, I'm self-conscious. Oh yeah. So the sneezing. One of the things I've noticed. I wear headphones. I'm an editor, so I often have my headphones on. Everybody there has headphones, even the non-editors. It's an open workspace, working whatever they call that. I don't like that. I'd rather not have to have people having meetings within a foot of me, but or editing. Editing requires focus, but this is sort of routine. I mean, there's not creativity afoot there, but you picture editing. You picture like a cavey room with a bunch of big monitors on the wall and some great speaker systems and some cool desk thing with a ball. And then there's like a cup holder that's built into the desk, which is always pretty fucking impressive, and a bunch of computer buttons and shit. Probably a keyboard and a mouse. And I've seen that. That's actually how the YouTube has their name drop. The YouTube facility in LA, one of the ones I've been to. And anyway, now I'm just complaining. I'm not trying to. But I'm having my headphones on a lot, and I sneeze. My mom smoked when she was pregnant, so I'm a big sneezer. Although it's honestly gotten better. I'm down to only 2, maybe 3 at most. I used to sneeze 4 to 5 times per round, and about 4 rounds a day. I mean, I was always like a weirdly excessive sneezer, and I've kind of a loud one. But so now I'm sneezing. You always hope it doesn't just like erupt. Like, every once in a while you get one of these Yellowstone eruptions of sneezes where you just all of a sudden you have a big fucking gob of snot all over your hand or your elbow. Sneeze in your elbow, by the way, everybody. It's the most hygienic way, or upper arm. But, and then now you have like the world's grossest, weirdest problem. And that happens at home. Maybe not so bad. You just go get a napkin, or maybe you just whip it against the wall, like, the basement of the library where Bill Murray runs into the ghost, or the ghost actually runs into him literally. Where they're like, ugh, slime. And so anyway, sneezing is risky. And so now that I'm working, I have to be a little bit more like, oh shit, I hope I don't have a loogie come out when I scream here for a second. But what I have to do now. This is a politics podcast, by the way, guys, so welcome to the show. This is basically like the Bill Burr's podcast if Bill Burr was talked about politics and wasn't funny at all. I realize that's what this show is. So then I'm sneezing with my headphones on. Now I got a problem. What if someone blesses my sneeze? Because blesses only work if you hear it. If you don't hear the bless, you have to acknowledge the bless. You got to go, thank you. Yeah, you heard what I did there? All right. I heard what you said that you heard that I did that. So what I do now when I sneeze, I take off a headphone ear, in case someone blesses, and I'd say 60 to 64% of the time I get a bless. And I'm grateful every time. But I'm also glad not to, because I honestly don't think it takes a lot of work to bless anything. That's why I bless things that aren't sneezes, because here's a little fact, everybody. Your bless factory is endless. There's no shortage. You will always have more blesses to distribute. You're like better than God, because God's if God has infinite blessings, he's sure not playing all of his cards or hand or keeping them close to the chest or the vest or whatever. God's a vest guy. He's got to be a vest guy. one of those fucking dudes. I actually kind of like a vest. It feels sort of like you're getting ready for a play. I don't know, right? So now I take off my headphones when I sneeze, just in case I have to, address, because there's a risk you'll be rude. I don't want to be rude. I don't want anybody to think I'm rude. So but now I realize this is what I'm talking about today. Nothing happened. It's just one random weird thought, and here I go. I should just skip the headphone removal, because that's a little distracting. If I'm in the flow, if I'm feeling the editor juices flowing, little sparks between my rapidly rubbing thighs, I will I don't want to have to thank you for your fucking blessing, okay? Why don't you back off? Maybe I can handle that myself, okay? Maybe I don't care if I get into heaven or not. Heaven's funny. I like that they came up with that. Like, we're not going to make it better here, but you better listen to what I say, because it'll be sweet afterwards. That's like how I start all dates. It's going to be bad now. Afterwards, actually, you know what? The three girls who I'd say rose to the level of girlfriend status all married the guy that did it after me. So maybe, all right, happily. I mean, they're all good. I think they're all good to go. So, all right. I guess I'm like the shitty car you get before you get your life together, sort of, maybe. Anyway, what the fuck was I? Oh, yeah. So it occurs to me, what are we, almost 15 minutes in? Jesus, I haven't even gotten to the funny parts where I talk about how our president is gassing children with tear gas, which is illegal according to the world something or other, the UN or something, some kind of law. It's like actually really, the use of it is supposed to be very limited. It's a chemical weapon. All right, so here's what I'm getting to. I should just say thank you without taking off the headphones. Sneeze, pause, thank you. In case someone said, bless you, right? Wouldn't that solve the issue? Except now, the problem is, the bless rate is not 100%. So if it's 60, let's just say 64%, that means that, oh shit, 36. Trying to be cute with my non-5 or 0 number, and I wound up challenging myself with a math puzzle, and I nailed it. So now what? 36% of the time, if I don't take off my headphones after a sneeze, I will just say, if I were to say thank you to nothing, I will say it to nothing, and I will just sound like a maniac who just goes, ah! Thanks. Thank you. Thank you so much. I prefer eye contact when I thank people for their blesses. All right, so good stuff. Glad I started off on that one. Yeah, good times. So anyway, new slogan for the show: winners and losers since 2018. I saw a kid's shirt on the street. I was, it's okay. I just saw a kid wearing a thing and it said since 1975, and I was like, what? When is the cutoff for the since as an as like a slogan? Because you're trying to say we've been here a while, we know what we're doing. Actually, this podcast started in 2010, so I should probably say since 2010. But I don't know. Is it 2 years, 3 years? What does it mean? How long does that go? This is not funny. Right? Let's move on. So a couple follow-ups from last week. I listened to it, and first I apologize for the quality of the show. Second of all, I tend to leave things. I forget that I'm saying something, or I'll start a thought with a intended goal, but then I'll, ramble my way off of that path, and then all of a sudden I'm in the mountains eating my relatives. I'm basically like a verbal Donner Party over here. Every time I say over here, my brain is thinking up in this bitch. I just want to say up in this bitch. That's fun to say. I hope that one never goes away. Okay, some quick follow-ups. I was talking about the gun thing last week. I'm not going to rehash what I said about all the guns, but I did mention that I was a junior member of the NRA as a teenage boy, 13, 14, 15. But that's right around when my brain started booting up, and I started thinking about the world and like for myself, and I kind of lost my interest in any religion. Not that we were particularly religious around that time, but I was like, didn't take much. I can get into that story, but that took just a little nudging. Like, oh yeah, wait a minute, I never really. Whoa, adults are stupid, and that happened early. And then my dad signed us up for the NRA, me and my brothers, and so all three of us were in the NRA. And we would get like these highlights magazines, but for murderers. No, they're not. I mean, but like these magazine, like kind of teeny. I don't even remember looking. I didn't pay that close attention to any of it. But this is the mid '90s, and I started paying attention to news. I've been watching politics and news since I was 15. The two things I've paid most attention to since that age are computers and politics. So very little social life or fun. No, that's not true. I've had lots of fun. I had a surprisingly strong softball swing. Who knew? Yeah. Take that, bros of the world. No, just kidding. I'm very, what's the word I'm looking for? Coordinated. Yeah, I know. I wouldn't think so, but I got it. I just got it. Jesus Christ, I sound like Brian Boitano over here. What's with the confidence? So, there was like a big assault weapons ban. I don't have a very clear memory of all the ins and outs of politics at that time. I don't know, I was only 14 or 15 or something, but I sensed and I could tell that the NRA wasn't up to much good. Didn't seem like they were doing the collective, the world, or it's their own people, because everybody's in this group, any favors. Fuck the NRA. They were fighting for assault weapons and for longer magazines. I mean, some of the same arguments we've been having for a long time. And I do believe there was an assault weapons ban that was instituted in the 90s and then expired under Bush, I think. Don't have those timelines totally confident in my brain, but I told my dad, hey, dude, I'm not liking what they're saying, so could you cancel my NRA thing here? Could you pull me out of it? Motherfucker? No, I didn't call my dad a mother, but, I think my other brother did too, and I'm sure, it's so long ago. God, it's so long ago. Ugh. Gross. I've got more life behind me than in front of me, unless I have one of those terrible adulthoods where you're like old for 40 years when you're like, oh yeah, Jesus Christ is still alive. Yeah, she's 90. I thought she was 90 10 years ago. One of those people. So it could be, hopefully, I guess as long as your brain's fine and you have a Hulu subscription, then what else do you need? So anyway, I made my dad get me out of that. I didn't want to be in a fucking NRA, even at that early age, and I'm proud of that. I feel good about it, because kiss my ass, NRA, you monsters, you terrorist organization. I wouldn't say they qualified as terrorist organization back then, but nowadays they profit off of politically motivated violence, so yes, they're a terrorist organization, and they encourage it, because they profit off of it. So 100% terrorist organization. Are there anything that's like either... Is there anything that's like 50%? Like you either are or you aren't. I mean, I know I don't like binaries that strong, but anyway, all right. Also, the word terrorism is fraught with a lot of rhetorical tripping hazards, and I think actually should be parsed a bit more. It's used a little too much, as I just did. So that's not true. Fuck the NRA. They are a terrorist organization. All right, so here we go. The gun death thing, I don't know. I just made a note. I'm not sure if this really needs to be revisited, but my whole argument about it is, how many are you okay with? I'm okay with 0. And so what's your number? I mean, I know that, okay, so if we did get the number from 35,000 Americans, or people in America killed every year by guns, down to 20,000, that's a 15,000 person improvement. That's a lot of lives saved, but we still have 20,000. So what, we get it down to 8,000? Okay, that's a much better improvement. I would be quite happy to see that. But now we still have 8,000 people who shouldn't be dead being killed by the Second Amendment. So I think it's a solid argument. One, I firmly believe it, and two, what kind of psycho is like, yeah, my number is 4. I want 4 gun deaths. I mean, I know it's a thing. Guns are going to be around for quite a long time, and so if we only had 4 a year, I'd say that's pretty fucking good. I'd love to see that number 0. But I'd be very happy with 6.5. Okay, that's a good goal. Let's give them a little. We got to get the murderers at least 6.5. So it's not going to happen soon. What I'd like to see happen with guns, and honestly, realistically, the best hope is that it's like cigarettes. I mean that as a model for we need drastic change to save as many lives as we can. But it'll require like a multi-generational public education program, buyback cigarette. No, they don't do that. But I'm saying warning labels and stigmatizing it and shaming it and stop movies and shows and stuff from depicting it as cool and, or however, because that's something that cigarettes did greatly to product place itself into American culture. And to their defense, or at least the filmmaker's defense, smoke looks pretty cool on film. It's kind of cool. Looks neat. Catches light. It's fun to film, I'm sure. I mean, it is. Ever put out a candle and that tendril of smoke rises up like the candle's ghost escaping to a better place? Yeah, to go be with some virgin candles. Virgin. What the fuck? I'd rather be with 72 porn stars than 72 virgins. No, okay. 12 virgins, 60 porn stars. All right? Order it up. Come on. Next day delivery. Okay. So, got some news and stuff to talk about. Final follow-up was about Zuckerberg. This fucking creep. It's just funny that it's called Facebook because another way of saying it would be Book of Faces. A book of faces would be something super weird if it was printed, right? And it works. Facebook actually pretty good. It ends on a hard consonant. Consonant? Is there a T in consonant? You think there'd be a harder consonant? You think consonant would have like K's and K-sounding Q's and stuff like that, wouldn't you? So Facebook, good title, good name, but real creepy in the context in which it was invented and conceived, which was awkward nerd Mark Zuckerberg couldn't figure out how to talk to girls. So he fucking made a website for rating the attractiveness of non-consenting women. Okay, that's my Facebook. Everybody come on and be your own judge of the faces in my book of faces. So real villainous, especially lately, though. The Facebook, Sheryl Sandberg, the CEO, I think, or whatever, the operating or something. Her and Zuckerberg are the two big dogs there. And they're just doing all kinds of shit with anti-Semitism and willfully or intentionally spreading conspiracies relating to George Soros to benefit Facebook. That's terrible. Aside from the fact that it's just as a platform, it's not policed properly, and I don't mean literally policed, but it should be regulated, and it should be. I guess that is kind of literally policed, isn't it? The rules and laws, but it's a free for all pretty much for the degradation of society and for all sorts of horrible shit on there. And I heard someone make a point on their podcast like, oh, it's 2.2 billion people or users of the site. You're going to get, that's a lot of humanity. There's going to be some bad stuff in that group. And that's true. That's actually a decent point, but that would speak to why we would benefit from these platforms having some regulation, and YouTube as well, where their algorithms benefit, or their algorithms feed and encourage polarization and a lot of this fascism and alt-right and Nazi shit, and kind of because they get you into these rabbit holes and these recommendation chains, and off you go into increasingly more extreme content and things. And things that can radicalize you or pull you down paths that maybe it's not great that we have all that information completely. I'm not suggesting stopping information. Like information is important, but profit-driven, faceless, humanless, automated systems that not force, but present and guide and greatly influence its users in order to increase the amount of time they spend on the platform so that they can sell more advertising and make more money, because that's capitalism driving this. But they're disseminating terrible stuff. So how do you decide what's the right thing and wrong thing to disseminate? That's a trickier question to answer, but I would suggest not Nazism. Maybe that's a starting point. So anyway.
I feel used and abused.
Me too, Lindsay. Me too. Okay, so let's start with some good news. This is a little bit of a change here. This isn't even politics, but, there's always politics to mention. Mars. We're there. We went back. Suck it, Mars. That should be the name of our next. When we finally send people, it should just be called Suck it, Mars, because one thing, I'm of two minds with planetary exploration. I think it's fucking cool. I'm amazed. I think it's wonderful. I think it's a privilege to live in an era of electricity and science where we're able to do this shit. We sent a fucking microwave to Pluto with a bunch of cameras connected to it, and it sent us some incredible pictures. They used, Einstein's relativity or whatever, but like the math is amazing. Like they were off by 70-something seconds, or I think it was 72 seconds they were off from where they thought they would be to when they got there, from when they launched that fucking thing to go to Pluto. So it's so cool. Like that's really far away. I'm off by 72 seconds if I drive down the block, circling the block looking for furniture. Got some new furniture off the street here, guys. Everybody in LA is always putting out their garbage, and weirdos like me pick it up. I'm going to cut this one apart a little bit, though, because this does. Okay. So, anyway, NASA brought us back to Mars. We already have some things driving around on Mars, but today the NASA InSight deployed its parachute. Okay, I'm going to read here from, this is Extreme Tech. I don't know if this might be an AP article, but whatever. Okay, so here we go. 3.5 minutes after entering the atmosphere, InSight deployed its parachute and ejected the heat shield. The atmosphere is thick enough to generate dangerous heat, but it's not thick enough for parachutes to work all the way down. While InSight slowed itself with its parachute, it's too heavy to reach a safe landing speed. The answer, as with Curiosity, was a bank of small rockets. 45 seconds before touchdown, InSight jettisoned its chutes, and now it's free falling. You can hear the light wind of the thin Martian atmosphere. Light wind. What a scene. InSight, I'm not reading from it anymore, by the way. InSight, I am now. InSight jettisoned its chutes and activated the rockets for a nice, gentle landing. The team was extremely happy. So it's always nice when people are happy. Let's take a listen.
Meters, standing by for touchdown.
Okay, we got some nerds looking at long computers. Hang on. Tension's building. Guy in glasses.
Touchdown confirmed.
Okay, immediately two people are doing a dancing high five with each other. Jesus Christ. So yeah, congratulations NASA scientists and everybody else who worked on it. Great work. Awesome stuff. What a cool species, huh? This is the kind of shit that we should only be doing. Like in the utopian fantasy of my future. Not my future. It's going to be several million years after I'm dead. But like all we would do is art and science and cool shit like this. And people would have connected, meaningful lives. And we would play bongos on billionaire skulls while choosing which of their grandchildren to consume in a stew. Obviously, no. But billionaires will be a relic of the past where they belong. They do not have any place in a healthy or sane or safe or habitable future of humanity. So, anyway, congrats to NASA. Thanks, guys. We're looking forward to seeing whatever that thing discovers. And, man, I hope they find life. I'm not, and this is, here's dumb commentary. It's a little boring just looking at rocks. I know that's not true. It's actually fascinating. We can learn an incredible amount from all the geochemistry and geophysics and I guess it'd be marsochemistry and what's the other one I said? I already forgot. So marsophysics, of course. Great. And we are learning a bunch. There's so much more to learn. But it's all we got. What are we supposed to do? We don't have any words. There's no pictographs. There's no hieroglyphics. There's no Mayan funny little emojis. There's none of that. We just got to look at the patterns and the rocks and do the chemicals and, oh, look at that shit. Oh, that one's orange. Holy way. Well, so we have to make conclusions and stuff, and we are learning a whole bunch. And they might find some kind of evidence of life, which would be fun. Because Jesus needs more souls to save. Even the bacteria, the husks of bacteria on Mars. All right. Good times. So this isn't even really big political story here. I'm just going to shit on Melania Trump a little bit. This happened last year where the Christmas decorations went up. Great thing for audio podcast. There's no video here, but this is a picture story. But last year the decorations were horrifying. They were these stark white, all white, like just white lights and white trees, and everything was just like white. It was all these like sharp looking. It just looked very scary and intense. like the torture dungeon of some sort of fallen elf kingdom or something. But this year, very similar rows of trees, but they're all red, thick, like red. Not like, oh, there's a bunch of berries or some red stringy shit on there. They're red. Fuck, there's no green anywhere. Just red trees. Bloody. It looks like a deleted scene from Bram Stoker's Christmas Adventure, or from The Shining. It really does look like The Shining, like with Melania walking around without moving her arms, with her fucking jacket on her shoulders. Oh man, ooh, what a style! Maybe Slovenia is just all that. Slovenia just looks like the House of Horrors had a baby with Alice in Wonderland. Like I'm picturing the cards, the Queen lady with all the cards that sing and dance and stuff. She and Charlie in the Chocolate Factory should have a baby. Anybody with minions and goons needs to get together and have sex. So that's the Melania story. The reason I'm bringing it up, though, is because there was a story in, what's this article here? In Quartz, I guess, about Melania Trump racked up $174,000 in hotel bills for a day trip to Toronto. So here's just reading from this. U.S. First Lady Melania Trump ran up a six-figure hotel bill for a one-day trip to Toronto last year, according to federal spending records. Government spending data showed at least 6 separate Toronto hotel charges, 6 different hotels, ranging from just under $12,000 to nearly $49,000, for a total of roughly $174,000. She did not spend the night. That's so. The total was roughly 8 times what it cost to house the First Lady's advance team, whose $18,000 in hotel expenses was broken out separately in addition. Okay, so. And look, this stuff's expensive. Like, these people, high profile, you got to have advanced teams. You have people, Secret Service. It's expensive. It's not like she can it's not just TripAdvisor and she's getting a deal on Expedia. I mean, of course, this stuff's going to cost more. But this one stood out because it's very shady that they spent all this money and she didn't even stay there. Like, see, they were bouncing around from suite to suite. She met with Prince Harry for 20 minutes at the Ritz-Carlton. And she met with some athletes from the Invictus Games, an event for disabled veterans created in 2014 by Prince Harry. Okay, for 20 minutes and a speech that was... this is fine. She delivers a speech that was 1 minute, 15 seconds long. I've had farts longer than that. That's ridiculous. Oh, then she met Justin Trudeau. Okay, fine. All right. So how Trump and her staff ran up nearly $200,000 in hotel bills for a 12-hour trip is unclear. The total was nearly double the $95,000 bill for a hotel in Cairo, Egypt, where she stopped for a day last month during a trip to Africa. A day that cost $100,000. All 6 charges for the First Lady's Toronto hotel bills were paid to miscellaneous foreign awardees. Isn't that weird? What the hell does that mean? All right, I'll just skip to the end here, though. There's really not much else to say because I don't know. I mean, it sounds weird and shady. It's fine. The amount of money overall is nothing, but it just speaks to the kind of carelessness of this. I work hard, man. I have struggled with money and had some tough times with having access to food because of my lack of money. I've paid taxes. I hate that my money buys these people anything at all, and that's annoying. On the other hand, I understand. The First Lady of this country cannot be without security or anything, and there's just going to be these kinds of expenses built in to this thing. On the list of shit to be horrified and upset about at these people, this is not very high. But to compare to Michelle Obama, because that's a fair comparison, the previous First Lady, Michelle Obama, spent $18,320 on transportation over 10 days in Copenhagen, Denmark, during a 2009 trip that included speeches and meetings to push for Chicago to be decided at the Olympics. People love their Olympics, don't they? So $18,000 for 10 days, and she has an entourage. She has advanced teams. She has Secret Service. $18,000 for 10 days versus $174,000 for half a day to Canada. Michelle Obama was in Denmark. I mean, I guess hotels probably don't cost. They probably cost roughly the same. So flights would be a big difference as far as distance goes. I guess, right? Another Michelle factoid here. Her 2-day visit to Chengdu, China in 2014 cost $220,000 in hotel bills. The Weekly Standard reported then. The figure included expenses for her advanced team, communications, staff, and security. So she went to China for 2 days. That was $220K. That's expensive. Still, 174 for 12 hours in Canada versus, okay, whatever. It's fine. All right. Let's quit beating up on the Slovene. What would be like her wrestling name? Because this is all just pro wrestling bullshit. This whole whatever's happening in this country. I mean, people watching it that enjoy Trump being this weird combative doofus, this dumbass. They would be disappointed if he wasn't a piece of shit. It'd be weird. They wouldn't know what to do or how to handle it. He's a wrestler. He's playing a role. In a way, it's terrifying and weird and horrible. But she would be the Slovenian, the you know how like boxers are like the Billy Club from Boston. She'd be the Slovenian Okay, all right. This is risky territory here. I'm walking myself into a little bit, isn't it? All right, so let's just.
I want people to know how your brain works.
Thanks, Van. Me too. That's Van Jones. I'm talking to Jared Kushner. All right. Enough of that shit. There's more here. I obviously prepared a lot more than I have to talk about, and I got to keep this short. It's my classic. I need to go eat. I haven't eaten today. It's 7 o'clock right now. I'm starting to get hungry. So, all right. So I'm going to skip the tear gassing. I've already commented a little on that. If you've been watching the news, here I am skipping, and now I'm immediately doing it. But real quick, Trump is tear gassing women and children and men at the border who have arrived from the caravan. I believe it's border security, border patrol doing the work, not the military. The military, I believe, is starting to withdraw from the border. They never belonged there. It was a campaign stunt. They stopped talking about the caravan as soon as the election was over. But just in the last day or so, the Americans, great people that we are shooting chemical weapons at children. And it's known to be very, very bad for you. It was interesting to me how like lead and other things that are like old people and kids ought to stay away. But don't worry, adults, just suck on those pipes. This is all you want. You'll be fine, you 35-year-olds. It's like, I get that. I understand. It's like a bell curve kind of. Like you're weaker when you're brand new, and you're weaker when you're, what's the opposite of brand new? Worn out, about to die, pre-mummy. What's brand? Like brand new, brand old? Or like, is there a reverse of brand in this sense? Brand new, generic old, brand new, generic old. Get it? No, okay. Anyway, that's not relevant at all, but it's terrible what we're doing. We're gassing children at the border. And these people have just crossed Mexico from Central. I mean, it's on foot. Maybe with the occasional ride or train something, but mostly on foot. These poor people are so in need of some love and care and water and food and housing and some help. And I wouldn't say just let anybody who wants to walk over the border without writing their name down and seeing who they are. Okay, come on. But anyway, it's fucking nuts. It's disgusting. And so we're all horrified, and it's kind of unfolding now. But it'll be supplanted by Trump's next horror show, which will happen tomorrow. By the way, speaking of Trump, I decided every time I talk about him, this has to happen. Donald Trump. That's so... Donald That was only one, huh? Not bad. So yeah, been having a little fun over here. Yeah, it was a good Saturday night. Oh yeah, by the way, how's your Thanksgiving? Send me an email, winnersandloserspodcast@gmail.com. How was it? What'd you carve? Did you carve anything out of the cranberries like I told you to? Didn't have to be sexual. Did I pronounce that weird? Sexual? Didn't have to be. Okay, could have been fun too. I mean, wait, well, that is all right. You get what I'm saying. All right, so let's move on to climate change. First, we're going to start with a British guy named Mehdi Hassan, who I like a lot. He's a solid dude. Somewhat new on my radar. I know he works for the Intercept. He's been around for a long time. He's a columnist. Here I am looking at his Twitter thingy here. Columnist, The Intercept, contributing editor, New Statesman, host of Al Jazeera English, adjunct professor at Georgetown University, a Brit based in D.C. I have listened to his podcast Deconstructed, which is also affiliated with The Intercept, which also has a pretty good podcast. So check that out. Actually, Jeremy Scahill on the latest Intercept, or one of these recent ones here in late November of 2018, in case you're listening to this in the distant future, really did a great job taking down Pelosi and Schumer and explaining why they're terrible and what, we have options. But there's a woman named Barbara Lee who's a really terrific legislator, not as experienced in corruption as Nancy Pelosi, but we don't like We can get rid of the corrupt old people that have fucked up the planet. I think that's safe to say. Anyway, side note. So here's Mehdi Hasan. He's doing like a television type thing here where he's the reporter or journalist interviewing some dude who is defending Trump. Let's just listen to this.
The president lies daily, multiple times. When he says we're the only country in the world where a person comes in and has a baby, and that baby is essentially a citizen of the United States, is that true or false?
No, it's false. It's a misstatement. That doesn't mean it's a lie.
Okay.
That doesn't mean it's a lie. It's just because it's a... I love that, not just this asshole here, but alleged asshole, how frequently the media will go out of their way to avoid the word lie. Like it's a big deal that they finally use the word lie, and most don't. And this guy's not media; he's defending Trump, so he's going to, he's going to be worse. But anyway, all right, okay, let's just keep going.
Okay.
He said there were riots going on in California against illegal immigration in so-called sanctuary cities. Were there any riots in California?
Oh yes, there were.
Where?
A lot of civil disturbances.
Where were the riots? Where were the riots?
A lot. What else do you need to know? A lot.
Tell me where they
Oakland,
were.
California. There were street skirmishes in Los Angeles. Oh yeah, that's a fact.
Hold on. The spokesman for the California police.
The street skirmish he's referring to is me trying to tie my shoes. I've been getting a little fat lately.
Chiefs Association says there were no riots taking place as a result of sanctuary city policy. There were no riots. He just made it up. When he was asked to say where they were, he said, "Go look for them."
I like how aggressive he is. This guy's clearly selling or slinging bullshit, and Mehdi Hasan doesn't put up with it. I love it.
I can give you many more. He said during the campaign that there's 6 to 7 steel facilities that are going to be opened up. There are no. U.S. Steel has not announced any facilities. Why did he say they've announced new facilities? That's a lie, isn't it?
No, it isn't, because there are a lot of companies opening up. There are steel facilities that are going to be opening up, or I think they actually want to open up.
No, it's not a lie. Other companies have openings. That's like if I say I have a girlfriend, which is a lie, and then I go, it's true because other guys have girlfriends. Opening up. Okay, sorry. Okay.
That's not what he said. I know I know it's difficult for you. I know you want to try and defend him, but
no, it isn't difficult for me.
Okay, let me read the quote.
And then he does the laugh. This guy doesn't have any clue. This is just damage control laugh. Which is guess what you do when you start losing a battle. That's why I laugh at half the shit I say, because I realize it probably isn't good.
Quote to you, U.S. Steel just announced that they're building 6 new steel mills. That's a very specific claim. U.S. Steel have not announced 6 new steel mills. They have said they have not announced 6 new steel mills. There's no evidence of 6 new steel mills. He just made it up. And he repeated it. He didn't just say it once.
Look, I don't know of what context these statements were made, but I can tell you this. The President of the United States
is an asshole.
Has been very responsive to the American people, and the American people
asshole
are doing well. Look, people
fine.
can look at me and say Steve Rogers lied,
and the president can be a liar. There's no contradiction between those two statements.
I am not going to say the President of the United States is a liar.
No, I know.
But who would? How could you possibly say something that's obviously true? Fuck this guy.
But I've just put to you multiple lies, and you've not been able to respond to any of them. Let me ask you this.
I did respond to them. What didn't happen is you
didn't at it right there for some reason.
Didn't hear what you wanted to hear.
What did I want to hear? I wanted to hear that there are no steel mills.
You wanted to hear me say, no, well, let's go on.
You wanted to hear me acknowledge the same reality that you're looking at and accurately assessing. But I won't do that because I'm paid to not do that, and I work for the evil fuck faces of the of the Republican Party.
I mean, you want to go on because you know it's a lie.
Take that. All right, so that's Mehdi Hasan, good guy, deconstructed. Check out his podcast. He doesn't swear. Well, he might swear, but if you're looking for swears, you stick around here, okay, motherfucker. So the reason I'm playing that is because I want to contrast it to Chuck Todd, to an American. I almost said politician, American media figure. Chuck Todd is very powerful. I'm not saying by himself. I think personally he seems fairly ordinary. In fact, when I look at the guy, I just hope that his head lice is healing okay. Do you really heal? How do you describe getting better from head lice? You don't say, yeah, healed. You said, I no longer have weird spiders living on my scalp, right? Isn't that how that goes? Well, anyway, Chuck Todd always looks like he just had his head checked for head lice. So I'm just assuming that he's struggling with this issue, because look at it, he's got the straight lines in his hair, and it looks like his goatee is made of chocolate sprinkles. And I would fight any man to the death who disagrees. So Chuck Todd, though, is just corporate Washington establishment as it gets. He hosts Meet the Press, the world's longest running TV show. It started in like the 60s or something like that. It's just a chat show. It's taken on different forms over the years. I mean, mostly the same form of like a guy talking to a bunch of people. They've updated the set, I guess is what I'm saying. For a while, Tim Russert, you might remember him, hosted it. He was a beloved figure in Washington politics. Didn't take any gruff. He really stuck it to him. That's why he really held those politicians in the 90s and 2000s to account by giving them talking points and pre-canned questions that they could totally answer and never challenging anything. Maybe occasionally repeating a question more than once, but fuck that shit. And then Tim Russert's son, Luke Russert, became like an instant celeb because his dad was famous, because we don't reward merit in this country. We reward lineage more than anything. So that's how that worked. Then Luke Russert, I think, eventually burned out. I don't think he's even in the game anymore. He's probably doing a podcast playing with a fucking fish tank like I do. I don't know. Maybe he's probably doing something. He's probably doing, like, I don't know. I should look into it. He seems like a decent enough guy, but fuck you and your nepotism, you motherfucker. Where's my nepotism? So here's Chuck Todd talking. And actually, this story is really about this woman he's speaking to. She's from the American Enterprise Institute. Her name is Danielle Pletka. But she has no business being on the air. And so this is Chuck Todd allowing this. That's why he deserves the scorn and the anger here, because yes, it might be his producer, but whatever, whoever is the person that makes the decision. But it's fair in this case. Chuck Todd could definitely say who he is okay with being on the show, and they would have to honor that. So fuck Chuck Todd for putting this person on the air. So just listen to how she sounds.
Let's admit that Donald Trump does actually speak for some people. I
think 46% is a number that seems to be the number.
Problem again is that I think there's a perception among those for whom Donald Trump speaks, and let's admit that Donald Trump does actually speak for some people.
Yeah, so let's admit that. Okay, first of all, though, the context is on this climate change report that the government dropped on Friday, the day after Thanksgiving, because they were afraid of people learning about this. So Trump's government, I'm sure it had nothing to do with the report, but they released a report stating that global warming is going to cost the American economy, or possibly contracted by as much as 10% or up to $500 billion a year. I don't know how you actually figure out those numbers. We know it's going to be expensive, and there's going to be loss of life and massive migrations and forced migrations and agricultural disruption and worse storms and worse hurricanes and worse and longer summers. Milder winters. That'll be a nice benefit for a little while, but it doesn't mean that we should be like, oh yeah, the whole thing is going to be fucked in 80 years, but at least for 50 of those 80 years, I won't have to wear as much of a scarf. I could wear a shorter scarf. Is that really how? That's not really how temperature. You don't just wear a shorter scarf. Okay. So she's from a conservative think tank. Those are air quote noises. Fuck that. By the way, one of the best Star Trek Voyager episodes was Think Tank, starring Jason Alexander from Seinfeld.
Captain's log, stardate 54274.7.
Get him, Janeway! So this lady is representing the wrong side of history, and so she'll go on here. She's right about to get to the meat of it.
I think 46% is a number that seems to be the number, for people wondering.
And that's a pretty substantial bunch of people. The problem for many is that they perceive this as an agenda that is much more about corporate and much more about law and much more about the kind of governance that America has and much less about climate. So from the standpoint of those who
so far she said nothing other than Trump speaks for a large percentage of people, which Chuck Todd threw out 46%. I would say it's lower. It's probably somewhere, I mean, what does a statement even mean? But, his approval rating may have risen to that point, but I think on the aggregate it's been in the mid to high 30s most of the time he's been in office. I guess if that's your waterline that you're looking for, is how to say that he speaks for these people, I think that's a stupid way of phrasing it in general. Obama didn't speak for Democrats. I mean, I guess in a representative government, theoretically, you send people to Washington to speak for you on your behalf. That's supposed to be the House of Representatives and to some degree the Senate. And it would nice if it was the president, but I don't know. It's just a weird way of framing it all. That's how they started this. But she said nothing so far. Now here's the part where she gets into the climate.
I have doubts about this, and I don't think we can have any doubts that there is climate change, whether it's anthropogenic, I don't know.
Okay, so she bamboozles her viewers because the people who she doesn't want to know or want to acknowledge that she's acknowledging that it might be human related don't know the word anthropogenic. So she uses a nice big fancy word to mesmerize around those people because that'll go right through their cheese whiz addled brains. Anthropogenic. We don't know if it's human caused or not. So that's at least they're acknowledging it. So that's been a long fight. We've had to get them to the point where they actually recognize it as a thing. And then their line became, well, sure, it's happening, but there's no proof I almost said Americans. We have substantial amounts of influence on this whole thing. But there's no proof that people are causing it because it's natural. It changes all the time. Yeah, let's just say it's not from humans. It's changing. It requires a response. We should do something about it. The changes will be devastating, whether it's us or not. It had nothing to do with it. Okay, all right. I fucking hate these people. They're fucking evil.
I'm not a scientist. I look at this as a citizen, and I see it so I understand it. On the other hand...
Get off the fucking air. You're not a scientist. Get the fuck off the fucking TV. Fuck this person. Fuck Chuck Todd for putting a climate denier on his show.
We need to also recognize that we just had 2 of the coldest years, the biggest drop in global temperatures that we've had since the 1980s, the biggest in the last 100 years. We don't talk about that because it's not part of the agenda.
Yes, we don't talk about that because it's not part of the... Fuck you. What the fuck are you saying? Like it shows how stupid that she believes her viewers are and that you are and that the Meet the Press audiences. We had some cold days here in the last couple of years. Yeah, we have a more volatile climate system. Cold snaps are going to still happen on this planet. It's part of the system, but they're going to be more volatile. There'll be greater swings. It confuses the plants. I know that seems like it's kind of funny to think of a confused plant, but that fucks them up because a plant it'll suddenly get really cold or really warm, and the plant will respond in the wrong month as if it's springtime or something, and then the plant will be consuming energy that then gets killed off by another cold snap. So these big swings really do fuck up everything, man. And it's just this whole system is feeding in on itself. The Arctic is thawing, the permafrost is melting. This is like kilometers thick in some spots, layer of frozen dirt with water, with all kinds of stuff trapped in it, locked into it, and methane is being released. Aside from the fact that it physically distorts the land, and so homes and roads and train tracks and bridges and just land, rocks and shit and trees are negatively affected. But it's also releasing methane, which is far more damaging or has much greater of a greenhouse effect than carbon dioxide does, as well as the risk of pathogens and bugs and viruses or whatever that might be tucked away for safekeeping that could emerge that our human systems might not be capable of dealing with. So there's that risk. Maybe that's kind of dramatic and scary, but these pandemics, man, I've seen The Walking Dead. Okay, all right. I don't think we're actually. I remember I used to have a bit about it. It wasn't even. I would just say that I would look around the room and be like, "So if the apocalypse happens, this will be our new family," and then I'll just like talk about how we'll that guy will be the cook. She'll be making weapons. I'll be one of the dudes vying for control. I don't know. It never really worked that one out. I think it's a decent concept, but I'm not that talented enough of a person. I could have worked it out if I'd had. Okay, so we're in big trouble with this global warming shit. We need to address this immediately to have any hope of it going. There's no longer. I mean, it has been wildly inappropriate for the government to do nothing about this since the 70s. Since before then, they were writing about global warming way before the 70s. Jimmy Carter put solar panels on the White House. Ronald Reagan took them down. Men don't use solar panels. Get up there and take them down, Nancy. Do it, you fucking motherfucker. Nancy, go gas up the limo, you motherfucking bitch. Nah. What if he was just like super abusive? So and ended everything with the penguin. Nah. So what I'm saying is our government has let us down. We have a very brief window here to do something about it, and we put the exact wrong people in charge because of this way the system and the society is built. The Republican Party in America, and that means that because we have so much influence around the world. It's really true. We have enormous amounts of influence with the way other nations behave and other nations following our lead or not, being given the go-ahead to push into fascism and for these dictators who are getting permission that because Trump has basically said he's not going to do anything about it. In Nigeria, they literally said because the president said it's okay to. All right, so I looked it up. I didn't have all the information right there at the tip of my brain. So this is an article from the New York Times. The Nigerian army, part of a military, criticized the rampant human rights abuses on Friday. Used the words of the president, Trump, to justify its fatal shootings of rock-throwing protesters. Just skipping ahead a little bit. A Reuters reporter counted 20 bodies at the main march. Those human rights activists were upset. People were outraged. Nigerians were outraged. But early Friday morning, the military responded to the criticism. The Army's official Twitter account posted a video, please watch and make your deductions, in quotes, showing Mr. Trump's speech on Thursday in which he said rocks would be considered firearms if thrown toward American military at the nation's borders. So just his words got these people killed. Not exactly causation, but the American influence is enormous. So it's it's horrible. Like if we were just a small country with like 30 million people, eagerly abusing ourselves and our citizens for the profit of just a very few people, but not influencing the way other countries operate. Okay, well we're that fucked up country of idiots. We would just be like the weird uncle at Thanksgiving, which will be me every time I go to Thanksgiving, if there is one. But no, we're this massively influential country, and it's our fault. Not 100%. I could say developing nations have responsibilities here too. India, China, large population countries, Indonesia, but we're doing it wrong. We're doing it right. Short-term profit, short-term business cycles. That's the stuff that is driving this, because that's what forces the greed to just be as psychopathic as possible. Oil's a really good material. It's like a resource. We're just burning it as fast as we can. We should save it, slowly use it, like as if we actually gave a shit about the future of the planet, understanding how it's properly used, and it's used in chemicals and plastics and all sorts of different ways. It's not a bad thing, but the way we use it for instant greed or immediate greed and immediate profits and short-term shit all drove all this stuff. What the fuck was I talking about here? Oh, so more with this lady.
The United States has been dropping in CO2 emissions since we pulled out of Paris. There are actually good things that are happening. We are not using dirty coal anymore. It's the
bullshit. Where the fuck did she get
Europeans who are using dirty coal. There actually is some corporate leadership.
She calls it dirty coal. Is she just doing this rhetorical thing where because she didn't say clean coal? Like, we're still burning tons of coal. There's no such thing as clean coal. It's crazy. So she calls it dirty coal. Oh, those Europeans are still doing it. Don't trust anything this lady says.
On this. Yes, we need to deal with these problems. Yes, we need to mitigate the things we see, but we shouldn't be hysterical.
Oh, she's the voice of reason. Let's not panic. If you get a little hysterical, the corporations I work for and defend might have to spend slightly more of their money and have slightly less profit. It's not like these places, these entities would have gone away if ExxonMobil had been forced to deal with its situation, or if we'd invested massive government funding and into research for green energies. I mean, these industries might have contracted some, but they're going to become the energy companies of the green. Terrible English, horrible. Like by the way, if one of them did completely go under because of a change towards a healthier and safer and smarter technology, good. That's fine. Why are corporations supposed to be immortal? Why do they have to last forever? Who the fuck wrote that? They're people, right? How about we give them a lifespan of 76 years? 79 if you're a woman, because women aren't stupid like men, so they live longer. I don't know. Women do live longer. It's probably is because men get themselves killed and bring the average down, right? and we all that bacon. No, I'm just you should be eating bacon. Don't be eating carbs. Don't be eating carbs, guys. Look it up. Low carb. Do low carb. Bacon with high carb, bacon's bad. Bacon with zero carb or very low carb, not so bad. Google it. You'll learn. Nutrition. People get fucking upset about nutrition, man. I haven't really gotten anything yet at work regarding that. I'm doing ketogenic eating, and I've done it for a year. I love it. It's great. But I've been doing it mostly alone, so it's been easy because I haven't had to deal with like social pressures to be like, ugh, what? You're fucking eating a stick of butter? Like, I don't eat the butter. I put it up my butt. Come on. Goes in way easier. No taste buds down there, thank God. Can you imagine if your penis had taste buds? Woo, boy. That would change the dating game, or your vagina too. Whatever. I mean, just mean your holy gonads. All right, so this lady is full of shit, and Chuck Todd, it's his fault. Not that she's full of shit, but he allows this to go through. This is a literal risk to you. Like, that's what I think one of the hard parts about climate change, and my personal Lord and Savior, Chris Hayes, has a podcast. He actually interviewed somebody. It's one of his first 3-ish, 4-ish podcasts where he talks about this specific issue of why can't we get anybody to care about it. He interviews a guy who knows a lot about it. I don't really remember much of it, but I remember enjoying the listen. It was a decent listen. Chris Hayes is much. I like him on his podcast. I mean, I don't hate him on a show or anything. I don't barely watch that, but he's a decent enough dude. Establishment, as it, but I'm glad he's out. His podcast. I don't know what the fuck I'm trying to say here. People don't pay attention to this issue because we're not really able to intuitively process futures, like things that are esoteric in the future that might happen, that might not, that are certain to something will happen, but we don't know exactly the nature of what it's going to be. And scientists, this is a point that they made now that I'm thinking about it and remembering a little bit, that scientists by their nature are very much like cautious about how they report certainty. They do it through their, I can't even talk about it now. I don't even know. I mean, not because I don't want. I'm dumb. My brother's a scientist. I should have him on to explain it a lot more. But scientists have, in order to avoid seeming hysterical or to avoid seeming like they're playing up emotions here. So it's difficult to account for fear in the statistics in the research, even though fear is absolutely what we should be experiencing regarding this issue. Hopefully fear will motivate us to do something about it. And so when Chuck Todd puts a person on his show who obfuscates, use the right word there, and confuses and denies, and that's exactly what she did, and that's exactly what she's paid to do. When Chuck Todd does that, he is increasing the chances that everybody will be harmed. Like, it's literally a risk to your life. You're already experiencing negative effects of it. We're at the beginning. We're in the winter is nice phase of this fucking problem. By the way, winter's not nice. You know, these crazy cold spells and these and weirdly warm winters that confuses the plants. All right? Bad news. So Chuck Todd is dangerous. This is irresponsible. I mean, shame on the media for getting us to 2018 where some jagoff on a podcast has to point this out. Not that I'm the only guy who's doing this work, obviously. But man, that is just bad. It's a bad scene, Chuck. Charles, why don't you get in charge, okay, fuckface? Stop it. Quit putting on climate deniers. It is time for to ring alarm bells, because and all because they just want to make slightly more money. It's all it was. Just a little bit more cash. They want to spend anything, and so they deliberately are. It's not deliberately destroying the planet, but deliberately not destroying the planet, I guess, which is bullshitty way of saying they're fucking up the Earth so they could make slightly more money for a brief period of time. Because the executives who made all these choices during this time, not just choices to behave for their own corporate interests, but I mean, like as far as their business operations goes, but also their political operations, where they influence governments and the Koch brothers and these right-wing billionaires who fund these think tanks like the American Enterprise Institute, which this woman works for, These types of places are dedicated to preserving the system the way it is, and to creating this denial, and to making sure that they can keep their profits flowing for a short time. And it's going to kill us. It's going to make, like, increasingly a human born today, and every day a human is born today, if that makes sense. So we're always squirting out new ones. As every day goes by, we get this little new round of new babies. They're all going to have worse lives, you know. And the poorer they are, the more they're going to pay. Meaning they're going to have to pay the price and deal with the consequences and the costs. Not that wealthy people won't have to deal with polluted air and other things like that, and the loss of natural resources and loss of shorelines, but they're in control. They have power. They're insulated from the damage. They can mitigate it. I think it'll be an interesting world. It's just that it's optional. It'll be like an apocalyptic kind of fucked up world where, you know, cities are emerging from the ocean on the shorelines, and where massive migration and probably food shortages will mitigate some of it with technology, but it's more than likely, my look at it is that it's going to be bigger than our technology can handle. So we'll have these, maybe we'll be retreating to cities, or as we probably will be migrating slowly north to cooler temperatures and calmer, or, you know, like Canada will become the new Mississippi, so to speak. As if those two, I wouldn't want to live in either of those places. I love Canada, but it's just fucking cold, man. Sorry guys, it's too cold. You gotta do something. Well, you are do something about it. Maybe this is all Canada's fault. No, but we're fucked, man. And Chuck Todd's making it worse, and he's making. By the way, I was reading about this. It said, "What is Chuck Todd's salary?" You know, on those Google results where there's like the pull down questions. It said, "What is Chuck Todd's salary?" And it's $750,000. That seems pretty low, right? Wouldn't it be way bigger? Wouldn't it be a few mil? Come on. And it said his net worth is $2 million. Those numbers don't add up. I'm sorry. If you're making $750K for multiple years and you're only worth $2 million, ish don't think so, to quote Bruno, my favorite philosopher. So Chuck Todd's a piece of shit. This global warming stuff is on its way. You're in danger because of Chuck Todd and because of people like him and people like this person. I already blocked Danielle Pletka, and just villainous. It's like, fuck you. This is as disgusting. It's worse than the smokers, than the cigarette companies sitting there lying to Congress that they don't think it's addictive, the executives or people of politics. No, it's worse than that. You're creating conditions in which this habitability of the planet is up, not for debate, is threatened. We might go extinct. I think humans are pretty tough. I think humans are resourceful, and humans are, scrappy. I think we can tolerate a lot of pain and a lot of, and we'll still have sex during pain, which means like we'll always probably be cranking away at it. And especially now that we cover the planet, there'll be pockets of humanity that'll probably endure through most of this stuff beyond it. Even in a very changed world, but there's also chances that it might not go that well. I mean, that's not a pleasant picture. I'm saying like the global population is reduced to a few million or something in isolated pockets. That's not a pleasant picture. But it's possible shit could run away. Like not just pathogens or things that kill us all quickly, but just that this just might not be a place that we can maintain 70-something degrees. Neil deGrasse Tyson, one of my favorite guys, once pointed out, I just randomly remembering this, about how mankind can go anywhere. And he's like, well, we bring our atmosphere with us. We wear jackets, and we have air conditioning, and we do everything. We devote so much resource. I'm totally paraphrasing what he said right now, but to maintaining 72 degrees. Like, we're not really that tough. He was saying, like, it comes from us being able to adapt where we are to keep it in this upper 60s and low 70s where our bodies are really meant to operate. We can do fine in the 80s and stuff, but like there's really just like kind of a 20-degree range where we're pretty good. And for my British friends, 80 degrees Fahrenheit is -4 million Celsius. Okay, so you're welcome. Oh, my corgis. Do you think Queen's out shopping for new corgis? Oh, that's weird, isn't it? when you know you're going to be dead before your dog dies. Like, if I could get a dog now, I'd be like, I'm going to have to bury this dog. But when you're really old and you get a dog, this dog is going to have to bury me. So, well, maybe that's a good reason to get some corgis. Get multiple corgis. I think it's unfair to make one corgi bury one queen. It should be 10 corgis burying the queen. And one of those corgis should be singing a song, like the guy in the front of the boat. You know, those rowing boats? That's my political analysis for that one. All right. Well, look, that's all I got. I'm done. I got a little bit more prepared, but I did a bunch of math. And we're going to talk about how rich billionaires are. I really want to make a video about this stuff, so it's good research and it's good stuff here. I'm not going to tell you all the numbers I have right now, but I think it's one of the missions, or I've mentioned that I have this. I want to make like explainer videos and incorporate animation and stuff. And I honestly have no idea what shape any of that'll take, but I kind of want it to feed into a documentary that I'd like to make at some point. So starting small. Wow. See, saying it out loud is actually stupid and bad for the project because it triggers feelings that you've gotten recognition for doing it, and therefore you're less likely to actually try. So anyway, but. A huge part of it would be trying to help people understand what a billion is. Because, I mean, I'm not saying I do, but I want to come up with interesting ways of describing it, or not even just interesting, but lasting ways, or ways that we can comprehend. I think that, like, the sooner we can convert racism into billionaireism, the better off we will all be, because we'll solve both problems. We need to solve both problems. Not to say that it's that simple and stupid, but, you know, less racists and less billionaires would be good for the world. And hopefully the math I did, and I would expect to be fact-checked on math. People like catching math errors, so I'll double-check my work before I talk about it. But we're going to talk about it in a way. It's just basically comparing average income over one's life to what like billionaires are worth. It's not that complicated. So you got to be simple. You got to come up with visual ways of describing this stuff too. And what I have is math, which isn't very visual. It can be though. So, oh man. All right. Well, thanks for listening, everybody. I appreciate you coming over and having a good time. Get out of here. Got to put your shoes on and get in your fucking car. Go outside and wait for a lift and get out of here. Get it. But it's been nice. It's been nice having you over, and I hope that we can talk again someday. Did you get your Black Friday shopping done and your Cyber Monday and your, as I put on Twitter, Cybered Tuesday? You know, you got to buy. As much as I resent and hate capitalism, I like buying stuff. I mean, I participate in this shit. There's all kinds of things I'd like to buy, like tools and some aquarium things, and computer stuff, and like a thermos. I'm looking at thermoses. I got 3 in my cabinet that I don't use because they're a little bit not. I don't like when my lips touch the threads. It's hard to sip. Well, get a new one, but consume, bitch. But I do try to at least make wise purchases and intend to use things more. And overall in life, I'm decluttering, even though I'm looking around. That's nothing but clutter here. But you know, it's good. It's good to get rid of shit you don't need. I'm better than I used to be, and that's all you can really ask for. So I'm working on that. Maybe you could too. You know, as Jordan Peterson, the world's greatest authority on masculinity and self-help, likes to say, clean your room. You should all just be cleaning your room and put your underwear on before your pants. Sorry, that's my Canadian impression. Here we go.
That particularly happens in the sexual domain.
Domain. So my self-help message to you, dear listeners, is every month or two, take a drawer and pull it out all the way, and then clean it up, and you'll find mouse poop in the corners or silverfish bodies and dust and stuff, and it's gross, and you're like, oh, but you also get rid of a whole bunch of shit you didn't need. And do that metaphorically for your brain, slowly, over time. And that's called reparenting yourself, because your own parents fucked up. So there you go. Thank you for listening. YouTube, SoundCloud. I'm not on SoundCloud. Should I get on SoundCloud? I have no idea. Email me, winnersandloserspodcast@gmail.com. Winner Loser Show on Twitter for kind of the show feed, although, you know what, I don't think I posted last week's. And, Hank _Thompson. Links are in the description. thank you so much. Since 2018, since 2010, the Winners and Losers show, and some good guests coming up here. Another lie. I just don't want to do the booking. I absolutely am going to have some good guests. So it'll even be some people whose names some people will recognize. And it's not that, like, what am I supposed to have the most famous person of all time on every show? Michael Jackson's corpse? That was what I thought was supposed to sound funny. It's insane that we play that guy's music, that fucking child molesting weirdo. I mean, come on. I know he was a damaged kid. He had a really crazy life. Didn't get to live a normal kid life, like, so of course he was a screwed up adult. But great music. I mean, that's the test of real music, is it so good music that the whole world would just look the other way when you're being a real goof to children and young boys. And okay, all right, maybe I'm wrong. No, he just lived in an amusement park named Neverland, and he didn't. Okay, I know. Yeah, all right, whatever.
That refers to flatulence.
Nice, thanks, Brett Kavanaugh. See that bit, that drop right there? Not real good, because his voice and the senator he was talking to, you could hear it right at the very beginning, a little overlap.
That refers to flatulence.
And so I tried to edit around it. I could probably maybe fill it in myself with my own voice. Just have me saying stuff. That's actually kind of funny. Good night, everybody. Good night, President Trump. Good night, listeners. I love you. See you soon. See you on the next one. Take care. Have a good week. Go put up your Christmas tree, you fucking heathens.